Hello. As per the terms of our deal, I have attached a download to the aforementioned world below. You are forbidden to stray from the terms of our agreement whilst engaged in gameplay. Once you have fulfilled our agreement, you are to upload your footage. I look forward to seeing you.
That was a screenshot of an email posted by Trifecta on YouTube on December 20th, 2025. In the post the screenshot came from, he says this: "I got this email recently and it's worrying me. It appears to be a missent sponsor email of some kind. However, the sender addressed me as my full legal name. The link seems to be a legit download, but I'm still unsure how they got my email and name. I assume it's just a scam of some kind, but I'm probably going to check out the world later and see if I can mess with whoever this is. If anyone else has gotten an email like this, please contact me." Aside from this, the channel is devoid of any other information, which begs the question of how someone got his email and full name. His channel does have videos though, the first one being called Sponsored Download, which is the start of Trifecta's investigation into this unknown world. This video starts while Tri is already in the game, and instantly things seem off. There's a sign at spawn that reads,
"It's a bad deal."
After seeing this, Tri simply says, huh? Maybe it was a sponsorship or something. Based on the fact that the sign mentions a deal and the email was discussing terms of agreement, it is realistic to assume that Tri's hunch that this is a sponsorship email is fair. However, that still begs the question of why Tri was emailed and how the sender got his name in the first place. And on top of that, what's bad about the deal and who wrote this sign? If it is a sponsorship, why would one person get a save file that someone else already used? And why would that someone leave a message like this? That isn't a question that can really be answered yet, but Tri doesn't waste time trying to figure it out. He starts by grabbing some stone tools and then goes off to explore the world. He quickly finds a small wooden house, which at first doesn't seem to be anything of note, but then something strange happens. Did you see that? This was a wall when Tri first walked in, but just a few seconds later, now it's a door, despite there being no sounds of breaking or placing ever happening. Tri doesn't seem to notice that fact though. He just looks around the house and grabs some loot from the chests. But when he does go through the door, this happens. He runs from whoever or whatever was in the house. But once again, you may have noticed, the mineshaft Tri just went down wasn't there just a few seconds ago. So why do things keep randomly appearing like the door in the mineshaft, and who followed Tri into the house? Well, he tries to figure that out himself. As soon as he exits the mineshaft into a large cave, he says, "Hello?" After that, he doesn't run anymore. Instead, he starts slowly walking back towards the mineshaft. But then, but nobody came. Tri is equally confused. After digging into the mineshaft, he looks around but doesn't see anyone and says, "What? I swear I just heard that." Okay, so what just happened? Well, it seems that after going out of the mineshaft, Tri got an idea. If he was being followed, he wanted to know by whom. So he crept back to his blockade and lied about his location in chat to lure his pursuer into the cave so that he could get the drop on them. And it seemed to work, but somehow, despite the very audible dirt breaking sound, none of the blocks were broken, and there was no sign of anybody in the mineshaft. But after his trap's half success, he chooses to simply keep moving forward. On the other side of the cave is a ladder out, and he decides to climb it. Once he reaches the top, he sees a strangely large house. The only way in appears to be this crack in the wall, and Tri goes inside. The interior seems to be smaller than expected, but still strange to say the least. Most notably, this player head on a shelf between two pots with the scrape decal. On top of that, the entire house is very purple. Purple carpets, purple candles, purple flowers, and a big purple door. Troy starts exploring the interior when he finds a room with a large bookshelf and decides to check every book. One of them just so happens to be a book in quill, and inside it says this:
"Don't use your map in the basement. I got it from a guy in a top hat who said he wanted us to store it for him."
After reading that, Troy goes to the other side of the interior, where he finds a similar room with yet another bookshelf, but this one only contains regular books. After failing to find anything, Troy says, "I don't see a basement." He then goes to try and figure out where this basement could be. He tries extinguishing candles, opening trap doors, picking up flowers, and he says that he was taking the books in the hopes that they would open a secret entrance somewhere. But it turns out it was just a basic trap door hidden under a pot. After he finds it, he says, "That was easy," and goes down. Inside, he finds the map mentioned in the book, which turns out to be a Trial Explorer map. However, once he takes the map, he hears this. There's nobody there. So then, what made those noises? What opened the door in the wooden house? Who? What basement? I guess whoever wrote this couldn't find the basement. Alright, this is strange. Even the book about the map reappeared on the bookshelf. Once Troy goes outside, the house is smaller as well. He says he's seen enough and decides to get off. He says, "I'll finish this tomorrow. It's too late for this." So let's pause here for a minute and try to make sense of what's going on. Most apparently, the various things that just keep constantly disappearing and changing. The door in the wooden house, the mine shaft, the house shrinking, the basement vanishing. For whatever reason, the world itself just seems to be indecisive. The reason for that could be this mystery person that has been following Troy. First at the wooden house, then in the mine shaft, and then in the basement. But who or what is doing all of this is unknown. On top of that, the changes in the world can't be brand new. In the house with the books, there's one that says, "What basement?" That was obviously not written by Troy. But if someone in the past wrote this book, that means that the house never had a basement. But there's another book that says it does have a basement, with the map in it, which Troy got. But how can it be both? And who are the people that wrote these books? And who wrote the sign at Spawn? And what is the bad deal is referring to? Well, these are all great questions, but we can't really answer any of them yet. There's one video left on the channel, but it was chopped up into 3 pieces because of YouTube's 15-minute upload limit on some channels. The video starts where Troy left off before. Outside the house, that doesn't have a basement. But it doesn't seem to have changed anymore. He starts the video by saying, "Hi again. I didn't sleep that well. I kept having nightmares. I couldn't sleep at all. I guess staying up until midnight and playing random maps sent by strangers has that effect." Now, I've had nightmares before, but I don't know anyone who's had nightmares so bad and numerous that they literally couldn't sleep because of it. It could just be something about Troy specifically that made that happen. Maybe he has insomnia or something. But the only way to figure out any more is to continue on with the video. Off in the distance is another house. In the last video, this wasn't here when he went inside the big house, but it was there when he exited. He doesn't seem to notice that though and says, "Was this here before?" but doesn't seem very worried about it. Inside are 2 lecterns and a bookshelf. One of the lecterns says,
"Please help."
The second one says,
"Don't trust them."
However, it doesn't elaborate as to who them is. Try also checks the bookshelf, but there's nothing there. Still no trapdoors with books. He also doesn't seem to know who's asking for help. Upstairs is a small bedroom with another lectern, but unfortunately it's not very helpful given that it's empty.
Just listen to me.
Who are you? Try then leaves the house and looks at his map, but when he turns back, it's gone, replaced by 3 purple candles. Try says, okay, I'm not crazy, there was a house here. What's going on, bro? Due to a lack of any other options, he decides to follow his map, presumably in the hopes that he can find some more information about whoever wrote the books at the Birch house. He makes his way back to the cave where the trial chamber is located, but on his way, I noticed something that he missed. The dirt blockade on the mine shaft is open. I even checked the previous video, and this opening was here as early as him climbing the ladder. Everything we've seen so far suggests that someone or something is following Try. But what's confusing is how inconsistent it is. Try can hear and see things happening. Doors opening, footsteps, ladders, dirt breaking. So why have we never seen this thing that's following him? We heard something coming down into the basement in the last video and never heard anything leave the basement, and yet Try was the only one down there. How can that be possible? Well, based on what you've seen so far, it isn't really possible to know yet. Hopefully, the answers lie within the trial chamber. Once Try digs in, he finds that it's already been cleared out, which means that someone has already been here. He then walks around a while longer, and then he gets to a pillar. He walks around it, and when he comes to the other side, a door. A door that was not there just moments ago, and also not a door that naturally occurs in trial chambers. Regular trial chamber doorways should look like this, but the one in Try's world looks like this. Despite being suspicious, he decides to go through, and he's led down a long hall into another unnatural room. In the back is a lectern with a book that says,
Do not trust him.
On either side of that lectern are 2 maps that appear to be static or something. Try picks them up, looks at them for a second, and then asks, who's him? This is the second time Try has found a book telling him not to trust someone. First, it was the White House that said don't trust them, and now it's don't trust him. I'm not sure if this writer is using them and him interchangeably, or if there are multiple people not to trust, and him is a part of them, rather than just a different word for the same thing. But either way, who is Try not trusting and why? This is presumably the same person who wrote the book that said, please help. And probably the sign at the start of the first video that said it's a bad deal as well. So there are at least 3 people in this equation. There's Try, whoever him is, and whoever wrote the books that Try's been finding. But what the dynamic here is, or what's even going on, is not a question we can answer with what Try has found so far. So let's keep watching. After finding the 2 maps in the book, Try turns around and goes down a large staircase at the back of the room, which leads to a long winding tunnel. As he nears the end, he sees a ladder. But then this happens. After exiting the tunnel system, he covers the entrance with dirt and pauses for a moment to see if anyone follows. But just like every other time, nobody came. Try decides to explore the cavern he's found himself in and walks towards a strange white structure in the distance. But as he approaches, he notices a gigantic structure protruding from the cavern's wall. And on the other side of the small white structure is a small staircase with a lectern at the top, on which is a book that says,
Do not open the tomb.
So I guess this massive structure is the tomb in question, and the large boulder in the doorway is keeping it closed. Try walks up to it and says, well, lucky for you, I lost my pickaxe, so I can't, as he dropped it earlier when he heard footsteps in the hallway. Then he sees a faint glow to his right and heads towards it. It's a small cave that leads to a room with a similar design to the tomb, but much smaller. Inside is a library with 3 books on lecterns. From left to right, they say,
He's a liar. It's not real. Don't trust him.
Try also tries to take the books off the shelves, but for some reason they refuse. And he says, books are glued to the shelf, I guess. He then walks out of the room and looks at the map. But suddenly the color where he's standing on the map changes. And when he looks up, the entire cavern is flipped, for some reason. And the room he just exited is now in front of him. He walks back to the tomb, and it's still closed. But the book on the staircase is different now. Try reads it, and it says,
Why I stayed, I don't know. I think I knew it was a hopeless struggle.
Try then says, how do I get out? He decides to go back to the room he just came out of, but when he gets there, all of the books are gone. But then Try leaves the room to find who opened the door, but the tomb is open. He checks the book on the stairs once again, and now it simply says,
It's gone.
Desperate for answers and a way out of the cavern, Try enters the open tomb. He finds himself in a massive field of sandstone, surrounded by ruins and hooded statues. He runs towards a small stone structure in the distance, placing barricades behind him the entire time, trying to stop something from pursuing him. He gets inside and struggles to close the door, trembling, and
Please stop. 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 Stop. Please stop. 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 Please.
once he leaves the room, he finds himself in an endless expanse of crystallized terrain. When he turns around, the door is gone, but in the distance is a lectern, and using the few remaining blocks he has left, he makes his way over to it. He bridges slowly and carefully, as to not be cast into the void below. He almost doesn't have enough blocks, but manages to close the distance with a jump. On the lectern is a book that says,
I can show you the truth. All of the things he wants to keep from you. Just let me.
Yet another lectern calls to him from the distance, and he uses a water bucket to fall on the shard where it's located.
Don't stop. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Another lectern looms in the distance. He tries to get to it, but despite falling into the void, somehow he lands on a seemingly endless bridge leading into the fog on both ends. However, as he begins to walk, something finds him. A gigantic stone statue crowned with a top hat, hands cupped, bearing a dropped book surrounded by purple candles. Try reads it, and it says,
The chaos wishes to endow you with the unknowable. Agree to these terms, and I alone, will stop the chaos.
In a panicked rush, Try signs without reading the rest of the book and writes his full name, Raymond P. James. He presses sign and is sent back to spawn, alone, with no items, and no visible progress around him. All that lies before him are 2 signs, saying,
"Why didn't you listen? You were so close."
He then stands here for over 25 minutes, doing nothing, just... Alright, so let's dissect what's going on here. First off, what just happened? Well, the sound that Try heard right before the video ended is the same one that he heard when he found the statue in the void. But why? And who is this? Well, remember near the beginning, Try found a book that mentions a man in a top hat, and this statue also has a top hat. But who is this? That we don't know, but whenever he's around, everything is purple. In the house where he's mentioned, the candles and carpets are all purple. Even the book and quill on the shelf was purple. The birch house was replaced by a purple candle, there were purple candles on the hands of the statue in the void, and the video ended with 3 purple candles. But if that's the case, who's the one talking to Try? Most of the books and every sign in this world were connected to the color white, not purple. The sign at the start had a white candle next to it. The house had white carpet and candles after shrinking. The birch house was white, there was a white candle in the trial chamber, the tomb buildings were white, and every lectern in the shattered world had a white candle next to it. So what are these things? Is there just no meaning to the color and the man in the top hat has been the one following Try the whole time? If so, why? And why has everything in the world been changing and warping so much, devolving into sheer insanity by the end? On top of that, what are these messages even about? They all convey one consistent thing, that whoever wrote them is warning Try about a deal and that they can help him. Speaking of the deal, at the end, Try signed it with his full name. So is that how the sender of the original email got his name? But if that is the case, did this email just transcend time? And what did the deal even do? You never saw the rest of the book. Well, let's just lay out what we need to figure out really quick. First, who is the man in the top hat? Secondly, who wrote the warnings that Try's been finding? And lastly, what is the deal? And why is it bad? So we know that the man in the top hat has left this map to whoever lives in this house. And the map leads to a trial chamber that leads to a massive cavern with a tomb, and whatever was inside of the tomb sent Try through a multitude of weird places that ended with the deal. The man in the top hat also seems to be the one who offered Try the bad deal. That was mentioned in the beginning, but we never saw the terms. However, the email seems to be connected, so by whatever means, this deal retroactively changed the past such that the person who sent this email had Try's or Raymond's full name. Other than that, there's not much else you can figure out. But whoever wrote the messages Try was finding clearly knows a lot more, constantly warning Try not to trust him, presumably the man in the top hat, and saying that the deal is bad. It's also most likely that whoever this is the one that was following Try the whole time. As in the birch house, a book is placed on a lectern right behind him, and if the book was written by the same person that wrote all of the other ones, I would assume they must have been following him. But what's their goal? Near the end, the lectern starts saying stuff about showing you the truth, and how he wants to hide things from Try. At the end, the signs say, "You were so close." But close to what? What is this mystery entity trying to show Try? And why is the man in the top hat trying to hide it? And why did this deal seemingly conclude that conflict? After Try signed it, this mystery entity seemingly just gave up, and Try went completely AFK for whatever reason. And why did it end the way it did, with the bells and the candles? What is the goal of the man in the top hat, and why is this mystery entity seemingly opposed to it? And what happened to Try after he signed the deal? And what about all the other random stuff, like the world randomly warping and changing? Or these static maps from the trial chamber that